It's 10 o'clock, and I would like to call to order this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, and it is October 6th, 2021. And we'll start out with Commissioner Gibbons reading our public statement.
Thank you. We, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, renew our commitment to welcome and protect the rights of all people, regardless of age, color, creed, disability, sexual orientation, gender and gender identity, marital status, and national origin. And we affirm the right of every person to live peacefully and without fear. And we will fight and resist at every step discrimination and harmful policies, whatever their source. We also stand with and support our county public school systems, both RBB and MCCSC.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to department updates. Ms. Cottle.
Good morning. Thanks for allowing me to come again and provide some updates. We will start with vaccine. Finally, we hit 60% of our eligible population is fully vaccinated. So that's a milestone for us. It is one that we had hoped we would meet back early summer. It took us 3 weeks to go from 59% to 60%. So I say that because we don't want to take that kind of time for future increases. We're happy that we hit that 60% mark, but we do need to be higher than that to really get the impact that we need. So any growth is good. I'm not going to complain about that, but let's really encourage people to get questions answered if they're hesitant to get vaccinated. Let's help them get their questions and concerns addressed so that they will feel comfortable in getting that vaccine. Vaccine is available on Miller Drive at the Monroe County Public Health Clinic. They are open Monday through Thursday and on Saturday for vaccinations. They have a variety of vaccines. So Moderna, we talked about Moderna Mondays, but they also have Pfizer vaccine and Johnson & Johnson. So as long as supply lasts of a particular time and at a particular week, those vaccines are available. There is testing and vaccination available at NDOT office today on Prow Road. And then at the Ellettsville Christian Church today through Saturday from noon to 8. And they have Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson vaccine available. And they have PCR and rapid antigen testing available. So you can visit ourshot.in.gov to get more information about vaccine availability, where you can go to get vaccinated. But these clinics, appointments are always kind of preferred, but they are not always required. So please, you can check Our Shot and get the details that you need and then get vaccinated or tested if that's what you need. And so as we talk about testing, again, we also have testing at Profile Parkway, 500 North Profile Parkway, that's on Cook property. That clinic is open Tuesday through Saturdays. That is the Indiana Department of Health and Gravity site. And if you go on coronavirus.in.gov, you can get a list of all the various testing sites throughout Indiana. But when you look for that site, it's going to pop up first as Cook because it's Cook property. And then when you actually click on that deeper, you will see that it is a Gravity site. And that's Gravity Diagnostics that the state is partnering with. So the results of those tests are back the following day by 5 p.m. Our numbers this week in Monroe County are about the same as last week, but the good news is that puts us in a yellow advisory this week. So we've remained steady and able to go to a lesser advisory. I do expect a very small decrease in our percent positivity and our cases per 100,000, but pretty much it's stable. Our rolling average of cases is about 30 per day. So we want to see that number continue to drop as we go forward. In other news, Moderna and Johnson & Johnson have both submitted data for review about their booster vaccines. And Pfizer has submitted data for vaccine for ages 5 to 11. So October is going to be a very busy month for those committees who are reviewing that data, making recommendations. The ACIP, that is the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, is scheduled to meet October 20th and 21st. They may be adding another meeting later in the month or early November, but lots will be happening this month. And at the end of October, we should have more information on these booster doses. And by early November, some information on children 5 to 11. So far in Indiana, booster doses as of September 30th, Indiana had given over 61,000 booster doses. And in Monroe County, we were just under 1,000 that had been given. Certainly our first priority is to get everybody who has not been vaccinated at all or isn't fully vaccinated to complete their series of vaccine. First priority is to get everybody fully vaccinated. The definition for that has not changed. So 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson, 2 doses of Pfizer or Moderna. That remains the same. That's what makes you fully vaccinated. So if you've gotten that and you meet eligibility for booster doses, certainly consider that. But really what we need is for those individuals who have yet to be vaccinated to complete that vaccine series. As a state, we are seeing signs of improvement, but again, we're not out of the woods. Cases are starting to decline. There will be fewer red and orange counties this week when we look at that advisory map, but still a lot of high transmission. Breakthrough cases do occur. We've talked about that every week. They account for about 1% of the fully vaccinated individuals, but certainly unvaccinated individuals are what's driving our hospital, our ICU, and our deaths in the state and in the county. And lastly, I just want to remind everybody, I think everyone knows, but I will remind you that we did extend the regulations requiring masks in indoor public spaces, and that is in effect through October 31st at midnight. Still requires signs, still requires masks being worn. There are some exceptions, so you can look at that order. There was nothing in the order that was previously in effect. There were no changes to the substance of that. It was purely extended. So the reasons that could be rescinded would be if we reach a blue advisory and we have 50 cases per 100,000 or less. So if we drop below 50 cases per 100,000 and we are in blue advisory, then this would automatically rescind. The Board of Health meets again towards the end of the month, and they will be assessing the data and where we are and make a decision on letting it fill its course or extension or whatever that may be. They meet regularly to discuss those issues and welcome public comment during their meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gibbons, do you have any comments or questions for Ms. Cottle?
No, I noticed that we're one of 2 counties in the whole state that has a rating of 1 under the state metric and one of only 4 that's in the yellow status. So what we're doing is making a difference in people's lives and in our healthcare system too. And I want to let people know too, remind them that at some of the locations where they can get vaccinated, they can also get their flu shots.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
We are in flu season. It has officially begun, and we will be tracking that. And certainly last year we didn't really have a flu season because we were taking a lot of precautions. I would love to see that happen again.
Yes, no flu season would be a wonderful thing. I am kind of concerned that a lot of the people who aren't vaccinated maybe don't have easy access to a computer or aren't totally comfortable using one, how would they access the information about vaccines and tests?
They can call 211 and they can assist them in getting that information. And as I said, a lot of the clinics, the mobile clinics that are there, and even on Profile Parkway, they can walk up. They do have means for people to walk in, and they will handle them right then and there. The Gravity site, in fact, doesn't need prior registration. It does not have vaccine, though. It is just testing on Profile Parkway.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And next up, we have Kate Petroline from Emergency Services.
Good morning, everyone. Happy October. Thank you for having me. First, I'm just going to start off with reminding everyone about those October blood drives. They're coming up on October 21st from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. and October 22nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They will be at the Southeast YMCA. You can sign up for those blood drives by going onto our website at co.monroe.in.us. And if you click on the date, it will take you automatically to the Red Cross website where you can make an appointment. Secondly, just a reminder, sign up for those county alerts. You can do that by, again, going onto the website and clicking onto that megaphone. When you sign up for those alerts, you can get weather alerts, travel advisories, different water outages alerts. We have some of those, and of course, COVID alerts. So it's just a great way to get in the moment information and accurate information. So again, sign up for those alerts if you haven't. If your neighbor hasn't, please encourage them to do so. And last but not least, October is Fire Prevention Month. And actually, the week that we are in, October 3rd through the 9th, is Fire Prevention Week. And the reason for that week is that we commemorate the Great Fire in Chicago that happened in 1871. And if you remember, it was the fire that's all circulated around the cow and the lantern and Mrs. O'Leary. But that fire was considered one of the most destructive in American history. We lost 250 people, 17,000 structures were destroyed, and 2,000 acres were also destroyed in that fire. And you're probably wondering, why am I telling you all this about something that happened in 1871? Well, the reason why is because a lot of our lessons learned for fire prevention came from that. A lot of building codes, the things that we use to build our buildings now were an improvement from the things that were used back then in 1871, like dry wood. And also the width of our streets, they're actually considered a fire prevention as well. The wider it is, the less likely a fire is to jump from one building to another. So I've actually been in collaboration with the local fire departments on different tips we can share with you in the community. And I'll share just a few because I don't want to spoil anything else for the rest of the month. But a few things just to keep in mind is just to be aware of the practices that you do in your daily outs and abouts. So I know that we're getting to the holiday season and we're putting up Halloween lights or about to be Christmas lights. Just remember that extension cords are considered for temporary use. And those Christmas lights and Halloween lights are considered extension cords. So it would be recommended not to have those on for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because again, they are for temporary use. And if those extension cords look like they're kind of bent in certain places, or you see some of that internal wiring, you might need to think about getting another extension cord. And also, when you're doing your laundry, make sure you clean out that dryer vent every time you use your dryer. I'm going to prevent any fires coming from that area. And also make sure you're doing candle safety. Make sure the candle that you're lighting is in a nice fire preventative jar. And for me at my home, I like candles, but I like to put them on the stove. I feel like that's a little extra safety area. But those are just a few tips. And like I said, I've been in collaboration with the local fire department, and I'll have future tips and tricks for the rest of the month. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. That history lesson was quite interesting. It's good to know where fire prevention practices came from.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gibbons, do you have any comments or questions?
No, but I found it fascinating that wider streets are one of the things that came about as a result of the fire in Chicago.
I agree. I thought that was a shock too, but great that we have it.
Yeah, very interesting information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Ms. Ridge from Highway.
Good morning. Not a lot to report. We are actually working in the area of Rock East Road to do some paving the week of 10/22. I believe community crossing awards will be announced this week. So we're hoping that Monroe County will get awarded for some paving projects for 2022. And again, if anybody has any types of hazards or anything that they'd like to report, they can go to our website and complete the form, and then we'll investigate their situation. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Commissioner Gibbons.
No, thank you.
I just want to say that last night I had dinner with someone who had destroyed a tire in a pothole, and I told him about the website and where he could report it, and he was very pleased to hear that it was possible to do that.
Good. Yeah, it's been a great addition to a reporting way. If somebody doesn't feel comfortable of calling the department, then they can just do it from their laptop. And then again, we go and investigate it, and we'll issue a work request for it if it can be fixed.
Yes, thank you. And next up, we have Mr. Evans from Technical Services. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and as the Chief Technology Officer here at the county, I've got an action-packed month full of tidbits to talk about with regards to cybersecurity. I'll be coming to all of the commissioner meetings to do a 3-minute presentation, and then I'll be doing a lunch and learn that'll be an hour long later on in the month. To encourage retention from these tidbits I'm offering, we're going to have a test at the end, or a puzzle, and the winner of it will get this trophy that I've had made. It says Cyber Puzzler in the smallest letters possible, because that's what you want to do, plus a $50 gift card to Amazon. So that's the month of October. Today, we are talking about social engineering. Now, when you think about viruses and malware, you think about hackers, you think about a bunch of guys sitting around in a basement someplace writing code. But that sort of thinking has evolved. We actually have something called social engineering that is much more prevalent these days. And social engineering is just a fancy way of saying it's a con artist perpetrating a con on someone, but that's a 21st century's way of rebranding that. We call it social engineering now. In short, it's basically anytime you are compelling someone to do something that is against their best interests, they call that social engineering. One of the most common ones that happened to me just this morning, I got an email. I'm going to share this with you guys. Where's my email? Well, do not see my email on the shared screen thing. Essentially, it's a common email that we've been getting a lot that is an auto renew thing. They're saying that your subscription in whatever, thanks there, Michelle.
Please finish.
30-second reminder. So they're auto renewing you for a product that you theoretically ordered. The amount for the charge that's being auto billed to your credit card is like $300 and some odd dollars. And then they give you a phone number to call. So the thing about this particular email, it's not a virus, it's not malware. The thing that you are being compelled to do is to pick up the phone and call that number, because that is the malicious payload to this email. Now, why would that be? Why would it be worth having that? When you pick up the phone and call, you are confirming certain bits of data to them. Your name, they've got your name, they've got the phone number you're calling from, and they've got your email address. By confirming that all of those things are attached to a living, breathing person that picked up the phone and made a phone call, it makes those data points exponentially more valuable for sale later on, which means that your name, your phone number, your email address are going to go on a list that's going to get sold, and you'll be preyed upon more in this manner. Easy red flags to look at when you get an email like this. There's always bad grammar. There's always bad spelling. They, a lot of times they'll say hello, instead of saying hello, Eric, they'll say hello, insert email address. Little mistakes like that are red flags. In this particular email that I got, they misspelled the name of the product that you supposedly were auto paying for. So they call this particular type of exploit a spear phishing exploit. And what that means is they are taking data that they have harvested someplace, your name, your email address, and using that to target their social engineering attempt. So that's why they call that spear phishing. Anyway, I've exceeded my 3 minutes. I apologize for that. Just remember, at the end of the month, you could be eligible for this valuable trophy and a $50 gift card to Amazon. Thank you.
Thank you. I felt that the information you were giving was important enough so that you should have whatever amount of time was needed to get it to us. Commissioner Gibbons, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, since Mr. Evans was talking with us, I just posted something in the chat that the National Association of Counties is letting people know that there are ways to get $50 off their monthly internet bill. And I think this is especially useful for students who are having to do some e-learning or even research at home, for during their homework. So I just wanted everybody to know about this, because I think it fits with the kinds of work that Mr. Evans does, especially.
Thank you. Yes, I certainly appreciate this. I've discovered that once you reach a certain age, you become quite a target for these kinds of attempts. And it seems that daily I get them. And it's a couple of times it's been very useful to be able to talk to people in TSD and find out for sure whether it's something I needed to worry about.
That's the thing. I have seen in the last 5 years, as the social engineering thing has evolved, I have seen a lot of people fall for things, and it's learned people, it's educated people, it's people that are just like all of us. We get busy doing whatever we're doing. We're trying to get through all our emails, and you make a simple mistake and click on something you shouldn't. But no, I mean, these types of social engineering attempts, we'll talk more about them in the weeks to come. They prey on people that just get distracted by life. So I think that's why it's important to talk about it during the month of October.
Thank you. Yes. At this time, are there any other department head updates? And I do not see any. So we will move on to public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda. There is a 3-minute time limit. And when you have 30 seconds left, you will hear this tone. Maybe Thank you. Yes. And so you should think about winding up what you're trying to say at that point. And do we have any public comment?
We do. The first one I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. So if they could state their name at the beginning, that would be great.
Hello,
Hello.
this is Jim Vogelweed. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, I'm the Adams County Clerk of the Circuit Court up here in Decatur, Indiana. And we're just south of Fort Wayne. And I've been the Clerk of Court for 7 years now. And now I've been in touch with Nicole Brown, your clerk down there. We go to our meetings and conferences together, and I've known her for several years, and we're on the legislative committee for the clerks of Indiana. Anyway, I just wanted to share with you our election situation here in Adams County. We're a fairly small county, but the clerk's office is in the courthouse, and all of our election equipment is also in the courthouse. Everything's under one roof. And our equipment, our voting machines, our electronic poll books, and our VVPAT machines, they're all locked up in the basement in our election room. And there's only a couple of people who have a key to get to that room. I think we have three keys for the room. And pretty much every day when I'm in the courthouse, I always go in there to make sure everything's still there. That nobody's been trying to break in or interfere with our equipment. And we also have our early voting at the courthouse in the hallway outside the clerk's office. And so all of our election workers, all of our election equipment is under one roof, which makes it a very good setup, when it comes to running elections. Because like whenever we got the workers in our hallway, when the voters come in, we like to get the voters in and out quickly. We don't like to have long lines or slow lines. And by having this early voting in our hallway, if we ever have issues with the machine or e-poll book or somebody's driver's license that we scanned in the e-poll book, I can just go to my computer, in my office and get onto the statewide voter registration system and to see if there's some issue with that voter's registration. And so, by having everything together, it makes it easier to solve problems that we have during elections. Or if we have problems with the e-poll book in our hallway, I can just go down in the basement and get another e-poll book and bring that up and start using that. And then trying to figure out, what's wrong with our equipment. And so having everything under one roof allows us to run the election a lot more smoother. Any questions you guys got?
Thank you. We don't usually engage in questions during public.
Okay. All right.
But thank you for your comments.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too.
All right.
And next up, we have Ms. Julie Roberts.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning.
My name is Julie Roberts. I am a lifelong Bloomington resident. I have voted in every election here since I was in my early 20s. And I've been on the Utility Service Board for 15 years, and I was the only female member of that body for the longest time. So I've just really been enjoying this morning's meeting. This has been great. I am here on the same issue as the previous speaker. I am really excited about our election central. I was astonished to move to the point of tears, how wonderful their handling of the pandemic was. And I was having a health crisis at the time, and I felt safe and I felt heard. I was able to get an absentee ballot. I was able to get in and out. And I have learned about some of the proposed changes, and I just have some concerns. And first of all, I worked downtown for 10 years, just a block from the Napa Auto Parts location. I had to park in that parking lot for a couple of years when the garage was messed up. I took the bus, so I was in and out of the bus depot across the street. It's an extremely congested and hazardous. It's like playing Frogger across the street there. The parking lot is a mess. So I think there's a safety concern with people being there. in that location to, if we moved Election Central over there. I also feel like confusion is a big thing. I have run for public office. I'm a city employee. I know how to use the internet. I still struggle to find my polling place. So that's why I love going to Election Central, because I always know that it's there. So moving it around, I know is going to cause problems. And then the other thing is a kindergarten model of organization where, you know, all the dress up clothes are in the dress up place and all the blocks are in the blocks. Having everything together in one place is how I learned to organize my home and my life. Like everything I need for coffee is in the coffee place and everything I need for lawn care is in the lawn care place. So having our stuff spread out over 5 different locations just sounds like a real waste of time. And also the fact that a couple of those storage places are in flood-prone areas is not inspiring a lot of confidence. The other thing I wanted to point out is that it seems like this is a really big issue for the public, the integrity of our elections and the fact that we're going to be a target at the state level for any kind of dispute since we're a blue dot in a sea of red. I just really feel like we need to have the strongest possible setup to defend our elections. And I would like to see everything under one roof. And also it seems like, you know, I know the city's famous for holding so much public comment that people want to tear their hair out. You know, if it's a piece of public art or a park, the whole world gets to say something about it. To me, these elections are a far bigger issue, far more important than a new piece of public art. And so I think it would be nice if the public had more of a chance to give feedback on these proposed changes. That's all I have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And next up, we have Natalia Galvin.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Natalia Galvin, and I'm a Monroe County resident. Here to speak in support, as the previous speakers, for expanding Election Central at its current location on 7th and Madison. First, it has come to my attention that an alternate location is being supported by the commissioners, the Napa building on 3rd and Walnut. I strongly oppose the Napa building for several reasons already stated. First, 3rd and Walnut is one of the most heavily trafficked intersections in Bloomington. Just this year, City Council members Rosenberger, Volan, and Smith co-sponsored Ordinance 2112 that passed unanimously in order to create a safer environment for pedestrians that included this very intersection. I fear for the safety of the busy parents who would stand in any kind of line with their small children at the intersection of 3rd and Walnut. Second, as an executive board member of NOW, I volunteered alongside members of the League of Women Voters to register people to vote at my sister's closet at 2nd and College last week, which is arguably a much less busy intersection than the Napa one. The exhaust fumes I ingested for those 2 hours were awful. It was a much worse experience air quality wise in comparison to my wait in line at 7th and Madison during early voting, which leads me to my final point about the space difference between Napa and 7th and Madison. Napa is only 7,000 square feet, while 7th and Madison is over 12,000 square feet with both floors. Napa has no second floor. With all the Bloomington flood issues, is Napa really a long-term solution? My belief is the second floor at 7th and Madison is essential. The county clerk is responsible for so much that she has spread across 5 locations. I attended a Democracy for Monroe County presentation in 2020 where Council Member Deckard outlined that the county clerk has statutory responsibilities to comply with state election law or it is a felony. Also remember that the email I received as a Monroe County CASA about how our offices had to temporarily close because of the flood damage we incurred at our headquarters on 6th and Morton that was not far away. We were negatively impacted by the floods this year, as many Bloomington locations have been. That was an expensive, inconvenient cleanup, but CASA doesn't have the statutory responsibility to keep ballots and records secure, which is the case here. I ask that you please grant the county clerk the space she needs in the current location on 7th and Madison, both floor 1 and floor 2. The Napa building would be unsafe for voters, especially with small children and candidates alike. With Bloomington flood issues and increased scrutiny around election security, 5 spaces for the county clerk to secure is unreasonable. We elected our county clerk to do this job. She's asking you for the tools to do it well. As a voter, I am asking you to consider our needs and accommodations also. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Abby Yang.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'm speaking today on behalf of Monroe County Now, of which I am the vice president, finishing my term. And I'm also speaking in support of what the past three speakers have expressed about expanding space for Election Central. And do people remember how long we stood in line to vote in November 2020 during a pandemic with no vaccine before Election Day? Thousands of voters in Monroe County averaged over an hour in line each to vote, many of them before Election Day. Election Central at the Johnson Hardware Building does not currently have enough space to manage voter turnout, and the county commissioners can do something about it. Indiana is a state that already restricts access to vote through early voter registration deadlines, limitations on who can vote absentee, and comparatively short voting hours on Election Day. This year's failed attempt by the state legislature to require ID for voting absentee is yet another example of the state's willingness to make it more difficult for voters to exercise their right to vote. It is imperative that Monroe County support voting rights for everyone and do everything within its power to make it easier to vote. We think that our constitutional right to vote is more important than Monroe County's right to prosecute and punish. So please, commissioners, I encourage you to figure this out and support the Monroe County Clerk's request for expanded space at Election Central. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have William Hosea.
Good morning, folks. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Well, also thank you for taking my call. My name is William Hosea, and I'm representing myself and the Monroe County Black Democratic Caucus, of which I currently serve as its president. I'm also, of course, a resident of Monroe County. I signed on this morning to support the county clerk and to echo the thoughts of everyone who spoke before me. Without getting into the minutia of the issue, I want to say, in my opinion, voting is at the top of a very short list of most important issues in the country. And with the new proposed location, we might be using a Band-Aid approach and just creating new problems without solving the old one. I would not presume to tell county commissioners how to do your jobs, but who knows better about the voting process than the county clerk? And lastly, I ask that you please reconsider her request for more space to do what she does best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next up we have Kathy Crabtree.
Hi, I'm Kathy Crabtree, and I want to echo what Mr. Hosea and the other speakers have said. Having spent countless hours at early voting during the last voting session, I saw the unnecessary movement of ballots from place to place. This is not only inefficient, but it is rife for opportunities for folks to challenge our elections. Our clerk has made a reasonable request for space, which should be granted. I asked the county commissioners to set aside the entirety of the Johnson Hardware Building for Election Central as requested. There's nothing more important than safe and fair elections, so please honor her request. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, I see John. Please give us your full name.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
My name is John Eads. I am the Jay County Clerk in Jay County, Indiana. And I am calling into support of talking about what Nicole is asking you guys to help her with. All the election stuff, all my work, everything is under one roof. I'm a very small county. I have about 20,000 plus people. And so I get that you guys are much larger, but to have everything under one roof in one location is so convenient. I can't imagine going to 5 different locations. And she even says that some of her voting records are being stored in Anderson, Indiana. I just could not imagine having to go miles and miles and miles, hour or two to go find out some of the information that I need to maybe check on. very fortunate. The clerks before me have done a great job with getting things organized. And when I became clerk, elections was one of my favorite parts of my job. And I just feel like that I could not imagine having to go different locations to get records, to check records, to follow up on records. So I'm just in support of you guys helping out Nicole and her requests. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. And I believe that is all the public comment that we have. We will now move on to the next item of business. Commissioner Gibbons.
Move approval of the minutes from September 29th, 2021.
Second. Are there any corrections or?
There was one slight typo and I sent it to Ms. Freeman and she's already taken care of it.
Thank you. Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on the minutes?
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbons.
Yes.
Motion is approved 2-0.
Thank you. And next item, please.
I move approval of the claims docket, accounts payable October 6th, 2021, and payroll October 8th, 2021.
Good morning, Mr. Jordan.
Morning, commissioners.
Well, Mr. Miller.
That's fine.
Sorry.
Good morning. I hope you're both doing very well today. The total for claims was $1,649,208.79. $405,947.50 was for the Convention and Visitors Bureau for fourth quarter operational funds. $267,577 was for Stonebelt for the third and fourth quarter funding. $242,101.71 was for Anthem, which was primarily for claims for September. And finally, for AP claims, $240,324.55 was for wheel and surtax distribution for August. The total for payroll was $1,611,941.87. Approximately 70% or $1,137,097.53 were for the direct payroll costs of the main and supplemental payrolls, and the remaining approximately 30% or $474,844.34 for the indirect costs.
Thank you.
Of course.
Commissioner Gibbons, do you have any comments, questions?
No, thank you.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on the claims docket?
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbons.
Yes.
Motion is approved 2-0.
Thank you
very much.
And I would like to note for the record that we received the August 16th through September 15th weights and measures report. And now we will move on to new business. Commissioner Gibbons.
Yes, I move to approve sub-recipient commitment for the Reducing Revocations Challenge Phase 2 strategy proposal. Fund name to be determined, fund number to be determined in an amount that's not applicable.
Second. And Mr. Hatfield.
Good morning, Commissioners. Troy Hatfield, Deputy Chief Probation Officer. Since 2019, our department has been involved in what's called the Reducing Revocations Challenge, and that's been funded by Arnold Ventures and guided by the City University of New York Institute for State and Local Governance. So the first phase of this project that we've been working on with 9 other jurisdictions across the country was trying to help determine some of the prominent pathways that might lead someone who's on probation or community supervision toward revocation, or meaning they might have had to spend some time in jail or prison due to some type of violation of their community supervision. So the focus of this project is really to learn some of those pathways, learn some of the ways, common pathways or common ways that people kind of move through community supervision and what leads them to that outcome. with the hopes of establishing some policy and practices that might disrupt those pathways and lead to greater success on community supervision. So I'm happy to say that of those 10 jurisdictions, we were one of 5 who were selected to move into phase 2 of this project, which means Arnold Ventures would like to fund us to help put forth some of those strategies that we think will help our clients be more successful on probation. So we've been working with some research partners at Indiana University and George Mason University. We'll continue working with them in phase 2 of this project. Overall, the grant funding will total about $300, and that will be funded to Indiana University, and will be a sub-recipient of that grant for about $170,000 to help put these strategies in place. What I'm bringing to you today is this sub-recipient commitment form from IU that would need to be signed. That is kind of the first step in the process so that IU can then draft a sub-recipient or a sub-grant agreement that I'll bring to you later once that is completed and all the terms are kind of worked out for that, so that we can accept the funding and get started on working on those strategies. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Gibbons?
No, I think that this is just fabulous, and congratulations on making it to phase 2. I mean, from what I read, the first round was 10 places across the country, and the second round was cut in half, and this is one of 2 that is getting one of these major kind of grants. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the 10 jurisdictions were actually very large jurisdictions. We're talking like Cook County, Illinois, Chicago, Harris County, Texas, Houston, Denver, a lot of places. We were one of the smallest jurisdictions out of the 10. And moving forward with just the 5 of us, we're again the smallest jurisdiction. So we're very happy to be in this kind of this prestigious group to get selected and to kind of move forward and hopefully see some very promising results for the actions that we're hoping to take.
Super.
Yeah, I want to thank you for pursuing this, and I'm very proud that Monroe County is actually one of the recipients, especially being the smallest. It's really quite exciting. This is also going to dovetail very nicely with the community justice reform project that we have going, which basically is all about how we're going to keep people out of jail. And that's what this will accomplish. So it sounds very promising. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this? And seeing none, we'll come back to the board. Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Giffens.
Yes.
Motion is approved 2-0.
Thank you.
And next item, Commissioner Gibbons.
Move to approve ordinance 2021-37, amend Monroe County zoning ordinance, chapter 802.
Thank you. Second, and Ms. Nestor Jelen, would you like to tell us about this?
Yes. So thank you for having me this morning. I'll go ahead and go through the first text amendment proposal. This is for ordinance 2021-37, which is an amendment to the chapter 802. And we're looking at changes to the home-based business, home occupation, general contractor, and artisan crafts usages. So I'll go through those individually. For the home-based business, as well as the home occupation, there are some changes to the definitions, which are exactly the same. So both will allow for now to have exceptions to help the public understand when they do not actually need a home-based business or home occupation permit. So this will include people that do not have any employees that live off-site or park on the premises, no signs, no external extra deliveries. So basically a lot of uses that you can't even tell that the person is working from home. So this is allowing us to kind of streamline when people do and do not need a permit, since we've had lots of questions with a lot of remote working as of late. So as I mentioned, this exception will go into both the home-based business and the home occupation to make it a little bit clearer for people when they do and do not need a permit. And then we're also making an amendment to the general contractor definition. So the definition in red is the changes here, and we're just fleshing this out a little bit more so that we're able to kind of ask people or tell people that may qualify for this use to take a look and get a better feel for the types of businesses that may be included in this. So getting into the use table changes, we are going to be changing artisan crafts to be permissible in the business and industrial zones. It's currently a conditional use in some of the residential zones. So basically, when you have a conditional use, that means you must meet the conditions and you go to one Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. And that means that your immediate neighbors get notified. And if you meet the conditions, then you are granted the use. If it's permitted, it means that there are still conditions that apply, but there's not that public meeting or notice. But we feel like if it's permissible or conditionally permissible in the residential zones, it should be permitted in the business and industrial zones. Then on the home-based business and the home occupation, we are going to be changing the condition 16 is going to be removed as part of this use. Some of the confusion with these two uses is that we do get applications for home-based business or home occupation that includes outdoor storage. And so we're trying to clean this up a little bit in our ordinance and allow for a different avenue for people that have maybe offsite work or outdoor storage. So for home-based business and home occupation, we're making it so that it's more clear that the work must be conducted inside and that there is not going to be permissions to have outdoor storage along with these two uses. So under the general contractor use, in order to kind of get rid of the outdoor storage under home-based business and home occupation, we understand there's still a need for that. And when we did a review of our uses in the county, it seemed like a lot of the businesses that required outdoor storage included businesses like lawn care or contractors. So we think that this general contractor to be conditional in the Ag, FR, and CR zones, which means, again, they'll have to go to one Board of Zoning Appeals meeting and meet the conditions, will be able to fill that void that we're cleaning up from the home-based business and home occupation. So this ordinance was voted on by the Plan Commission on August 17th, 2021, and they sent over a positive recommendation by 8-0 of these changes. And then the next ordinance, I'll just mention briefly for people that are listening in, will address those conditions of the general contractor use, but we'll do these separately. I can take any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Gibbons, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, I really appreciated seeing all the proposed changes in red. It helped me really zero in on those. So I want to say thank you for that. And if people currently have a conditional, any kind of permit, and then they want to change things, that means that they also have to come back under certain conditions. Is that correct?
So that's a good question. People that have an active home-based business or home occupation permit, let's say, that allowed for them to have a use that included outdoor storage, let's say, with this text amendment, they are still going to be able to continue that business, and it would be considered pre-existing non-conforming. So essentially what that means is if they ever want to make changes to their business or expand their business in any way, they would need to come in as usual, even under their other permit. Even if we didn't do the text amendment, you do have to come back in. And at that point, we may be able to guide them towards the general contractor use that's conditional, or revise the outdoor storage under those business plans and see if we can, work with them from there and get a new revised permit.
Thank you. I'm very happy to see these changes made. I think that probably we're going to be seeing more and more home-based businesses, and that's probably a good thing for the county. So it's good to be making it a little more possible while still making sure that they do follow the regulations. And at this time, do we have any public comment? And I do not see any. So I'll come back to the Board of Commissioners. And Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on, oops. Sorry. Okay. Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on Ordinance 2021-37 to amend Monroe County zoning?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved 2-0.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Move to approve ordinance 2021-38, amend Monroe County zoning ordinance, chapter 813.
Second, Ms. Nestor Jelen.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a subsequent amendment to what we just heard, which will add conditions for the general contractor use in the rural zones. So I'll go through those changes. So as you see on the screen, there are conditions A through H with some sub requirements under H. These requirements are to be met if the person wanting to have a general contractor use in these rural zones would like to apply for the use to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So I'll go ahead and go through these conditions. And we did do, at the end of the presentation, I'll go through a few examples where we feel like these conditions are possible to be met by some of the businesses that we see in the county. So the following development and operational standards shall apply to general contractor in the Ag RR, FR, or CR zones. The site must have a minimum lot size of 5 acres. The presence of a primary residence on the property is required. The business owner operator must record an affidavit and commitment stating that they will reside on the property full time. Employees of the business living off-site may park at residential location provided there's sufficient off-street parking to fully accommodate employees and that they meet a parking setback of 50 feet. The number of employees who live off-site is limited to 5 total. No retail is permitted at the residential site. Any building used in connection with the general contractor use shall be located at least 35 feet from the rear and side property lines. No permanent advertising signs are permitted at the residential property. Hours of operation between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Any storage of vehicles and materials used for the general contracting business must be stored indoors or screened on all sides by an appropriate fence or appropriate plantings. If screened, the following standards shall be followed. Minimum 6-foot opaque fence or landscaping that meets the interior tree requirement must immediately surround the entire storage area, meaning the type D buffer yard in chapter 830. The screening must capture the entirety of items stored, and staff has the final determination as to whether fencing or landscaping is more appropriate depending on the items stored. Outdoor storage of vehicles must be limited to 5 or less. The types of vehicles must be included on the application and not exceed the county's definition of heavy equipment, which is defined as motorized equipment having a gross weight of more than 6 tons. No outdoor storage area may exceed 100 foot by 100 foot and must be located within buildable area per chapter 804. And the outdoor storage may not include green fill waste. So going back through and just looping some context into some of these conditions, as you can tell, we do have many, many examples to work from, and that's why these are able to be kind of specifically noted. For anyone listening in that thinks that this is a little bit really, restrictive for a general contractor business, I will note these conditions would not apply if the general contractor was located in a business zone. This is simply to accommodate a general contractor use in our rural residential zones. And in order to do that, we feel like some limitations are needed to be made. Now, if any general contractor is successful and exceeds any of these conditions, we think at that point it would be appropriate to find a commercial zone. So that's kind of some context for some of these. I wanted to give you an impression of the type of vehicles that meet the 6 tons or more per the definition. So some of these vehicles would not be able to be stored on the property and be considered part of the general contractor use. I do have a few examples that I can run through if the commissioners would like to take a look at those. Okay, so here's an example of a lawn care business where there's a residence on site, and the blue square is limiting the 100 by 100 foot outdoor storage area. So we think that it would be possible, just need some screening and a little bit of a different design to be able to meet within those constraints. There's another example where this would not be possible because the site is less than 0.7 acres and the owner of the property does not live on the property. So this is an example where it's too tight and it wouldn't match what is surrounding. So it would not be a permissible use, meeting the conditions. Here's another example where it's over 10 acres and they do live on the site. They are able to meet the 100 by 100, but the setbacks, they would need to go ahead and shift those a little bit. But again, they pretty much be able to meet those with some accommodations. So with those examples and the Plan Commission review, they voted on September 7th to send a positive recommendation to commissioners by a vote of 8-0. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Commissioner Gibbons?
Well, first of all, I think that this is a nice protection for the neighbors. So I appreciate these changes. So if somebody doesn't comply, what are the repercussions?
So if someone is applying for a general contractor use in these rural zones and cannot meet the conditions, they're unable to get the use. But let's say at the time of the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, they do meet those conditions or state that they're able to meet those conditions. At a later date, if we receive a complaint and they're outside of the scope of those conditions, at that point, staff would have a basis for revoking any permit that was issued. And then we could also have the petitioner or the owner go ahead and apply and see if they can relocate to maybe a business zone or find another comparable zone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? And seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on Ordinance 2021-38 to amend Monroe County zoning?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbons?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 2-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Move to approve Award Infrastructure Systems, the Lori Lane Road Culvert Replacement Project, Fund Name Cumulative Bridge, Fund Number 1135, in the amount of $419,830.
Second, and Ms. Ridge.
Good morning again. We opened bids on September 29th in a public Zoom meeting. We had 3 bids, Milestone, Kreider & Kreider, and Infrastructure Systems. Infrastructure Systems was the lowest, most responsive bidder, and we would like to award the project to have this completed this fall.
Thank you. Any comments or questions, Commissioner Gibbons?
I was just going to ask if this is somebody that you've worked with before.
It is not anybody that we have worked with. We did reach out to a couple of companies that we have contracted in the past that's done some bridge work, and they are very familiar with the company, and they became highly recommended.
Excellent.
Very good. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbons?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 2-0.
Thank you. And next we have appointments. Commissioner Gibbons.
Yes, I would like to nominate Ginger Davis to be a member of our Drainage Board.
Second. Do you have any comments or questions?
Well, Ms. Davis, I've gotten to chat with her. I hope I get to meet her sometime soon. She's a very well qualified person. She has a master's in civil engineering, a master's of science in geological sciences from IU, And I just think she really fills a wonderful niche for us.
Yes, it does sound like she's going to fit in perfectly for this. So is there any public comment?
Just
Seeing
note that
none.
we usually don't take public comment on appointments.
Oh, okay, sorry. No public comment. Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes,
Commissioner Gibbons.
Yes.
Motion is approved 2-0.
thank you. And announcements, we do have openings on boards and commissions, even if we have just filled one. So anyone who's interested, please apply. You will find the application on the county website, which is co.monroe.in.us. And I would also like to announce that the commissioners are at this time having office hours. You can find the office hours on our website. There will be one commissioner there, and if there's someone preceding you, you will be in a waiting room. And when the previous person has finished, you'll be let in to talk to the commissioner. And I believe that is all we have. Do you have anything more, Commissioner Gibbons?
Apparently somebody tried to talk with me on Monday, but they clicked the button for November 1st instead of for the correct Monday in October. And so I apologize to that person, and hopefully they'll call back in some other time.
Yeah, I saw that also and was a little confused by it. All right, I believe that is the end of our business, and we will return at 11:20 for our work session. This meeting is adjourned.